And would now like to invite our round table panel up to the table here, and we'll get that next part underway. As you look at your program, you'll notice the topic of the round table discussion. We thought it's fitting, after we'd spent time telling you what CAN-BIM has been doing, where we are, our connectiveness, that we had several presentations that were honest and sincere of real people grappling with real issues around building information modeling. We thought it'd be a challenge that we could pose to our roundtable panel. BIM and beyond. What could our industry look like, and how do we get there?
So I started, when I was thinking about what it might look like, I started with the assumption that, because I too have been working in BIM for about 10 years now, that in the future, looking 10 to 15 years from now, that all the disciplines would in fact be thoroughly immersed in BIM and would be working together, because as Cam mentioned, we too have the problem, particularly with mechanical and electrical, that they're not always accepted as quick to be part of the BIM experience as we are. So we're still struggling with that a little bit now. So in the future, my hope is that that in fact is done, and we really are working in an integrated fashion with contractors as well, which would be ideal. And so then that would allow us to really be exploring the information part of BIM, which right now I still feel like we really haven't explored fully. We've been dwelling in the modeling aspect too much, and it's the information in the database that has so much potential. And I think in order to realize that, I mean, from my own experience, one of the difficulties I have as a partner is I don't have a lot of time. I really like to work in Revit and do that, but I don't have time to always be researching what the latest and greatest is. And so ideally for me, I mean, the mechanism in which the information portion could be better pulled out of the model and integrated into our processes would be within the software itself, hopefully. Similar to, I kind of liken it to the idea of the iTunes Genius, where it makes suggestions for you based on your music. It would be fantastic if the programs or web would be able to actually analyze our use of the BIM and make suggestions based on that. I mean, perhaps there are apps, that kind of thing, something that identifies areas that we work in and makes suggestions for how we might better improve our processes, because ideally, working in a BIM world, we're looking to streamline our processes and make things more efficient. And there are lots of techniques and tools out there that we really haven't been able to take advantage of yet, only just starting to touch the surface of. So, ultimately, those would not be costly, is the other hope, is that they become things that are very flexible and easy add-ons to the software program without being a really large hit in terms of finances.
For ourselves, in terms of owners, at this point we've done quite a few projects recently where we are implementing BIM or Revit. One of the issues that I see down the road for ourselves, or where I would like to see the future of BIM, is that we have a lot of hurdles at our end, just in terms of manpower, or even having the skilled operators for the models, as well as the hardware. Obviously, we're sort of at the back end yet. We don't have the hardware to even sort of house these models or harness the models. So from our end, what I would like to see definitely down the road, again, it's sort of housed in the program, would be to have something that would allow, from a client point of view, to be able to visualize the model and to be able to operate it, you know, even with sort of voice-over commands or large touched screens, you know what I mean, to be able to use the model. I mean, at our end, like I said, hopefully using that technology to be able to sort of overcome sort of the issues that we have with the operators and the hardware. But definitely, I mean, it was interesting, or I was happy to hear that Cam was talking about, you know, in terms of the ownership of the model, that, you know, we would sort of sit with the owners, because at our end, you know, we would definitely see that as important, especially as we work with the model for maintenance and for future additions.
Sure. There's definitely a lot to talk about on, in BIM in general, and like as Cam was saying with IPD, IDP, there's lots of challenges, lots of opportunities, and so it's kind of difficult to pick just one to talk about, especially there's so many great technical tools that Annalise was referring to, modeling, analysis, all these great things we can do that consulting engineers are very excited about. But since I have just one to work with, one to pick and elaborate on, I kind of wanted to focus on maybe more a fundamental one, which popped up a lot today in discussions, and that's the issue of the value that the model allows us to add to a project and to the industry as a whole. I think it's important to define, to have value as an important topic, because of course most of the people or entities that contribute to a model and to the process, of course, are businesses, right? And so if the value is not understood, then it can't be recognized when you're getting that value. And then of course, well, who would we buy it from if we don't know how to recognize it? So with that scenario, I just want to move to kind of what my vision statement, I guess, if I have to make one, about what the future of the industry could look like. I think in 10 years, the value of the information that's placed in the model will be very well understood. The value that it makes available to different stages of the design, different entities, different stakeholders, I think that needs to be, in 10 years, that will be very well understood. And because the value is understood, designs will be very tightly coordinated. Of course, all the different disciplines will be in that model and working together to avoid clashes, or to develop models that have minimal clashes, so that the contractors can then take that model with some level of trust and an inherent understanding of what the risk is in that there's a reduced risk. They'll be able to take that and use it to install the systems, and then of course contribute further value to the model, hand that off to the owner, and the owner will then be able to use it through the lifespan of the building as a parallel kind of living entity next to the building. So I guess that's kind of my vision statement, is that, and it's a bit of a prayer as well, if we can't, as an industry as a whole, recognize the value there, then we certainly won't get to do all the fanciful technical things that we want to do with the model, right? So in order to get there, I think design teams need to continue to expand the use of BIM to develop a track record of success and to be able to demonstrate the value that's been added. We need to have continued discipline in defining the level of detail that gets put into models. We have a tendency to put too much in, maybe that's not required, and more effort is made than the value that you get out. And then of course, further to what you heard Cam talking about, was contractors need to continue to gain experience, as many here have, with using BIM and what value they can get out of it. I think it's promising, the number of contractors that we have here. So clearly they're starting to recognize that value. And there's I could go on, but I think I've made my point, so.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. To be succinct, I think in 10 years the model will be the contract document, and that we will see a process very similar to what Scott from Supreme described with the Capitol Theatre, that he didn't receive a design drawing, he received a model. And I actually worked with Scott on that project, and at no time did we ever see any shop drawings. We received a fabrication model. Everything was done through the model, and I think that, in my opinion, in 10 years, that's what we'll see. We won't have drawings, we'll have the model. And whether it's a model that we, as a contractor, have been able to have a part of producing in a collaborative, true BIM process, or if it's a model that we are given through more of a lump sum bidding process. Either way, I really think that there is the potential for us to work directly from the model. When we are asking for pricing from subcontractors or giving them the information that they need to do their scope of work, we'll just give them the model. And within the model and in the background database, they will have all the information that they need to do their job, all the specs, location, layout, everything. And that's something that again, I think was achieved on the structural steel scope on the Capitol Theatre, and we're seeing to a limited extent now on other jobs. But I think to get there, in a broader sense and throughout the industry, there are a couple of steps that we'll need to go through. One is we'll need to have intelligent models with information built in that is reliable, accurate, hopefully has been collaboratively produced, again through a true BIM process where the contractor and subcontractors also have an opportunity to be a part of building the model. And that intelligent model will need to be the contract document, so that when we use it for a quantity takeoff, we can rely on that number that is coming from the model and rely on the database information that is producing it. On our end, in order to receive that intelligent model, we'll need to be able to extract that information, and that's something that I know we're really looking at now, is how do we train people to be able to do that? What kind of tools do they need? Which members of our team need to be trained to do that, and how do we just establish that workflow? So to get there, I know there will need to be a lot of training, just like with drawings. I think for a lot of us, we've worked with drawings for so long, it's second nature to read them. I know if people that I know see a structural drawing that I'm working from, to them it's like another language. And so I think sometimes we forget that we've been trained to read those drawings. We need to train people to read the model and to pull that information off, just as we do now with 2D documents. And I think that as we get there, as the BIM process develops and as the industry develops and how they use it, I know that right now there are some firms, contractors and designers alike, who don't think that the BIM process works. And I have heard of and worked with designers who say they will never do BIM because they tried it and it didn't work and they just refused to do it. In my opinion, I have seen huge value in using BIM, and I think that what we will see is a progression of survival of the fittest. If BIM adds value and it makes us more competitive, then the people who use it and use it successfully will succeed and go on, and those who choose not to, I think will die off. And I think the market will reveal that, and just like in nature, we can make our predictions, but time will tell. And so I think that in 10 years we'll see a process centered on the model, where the model is the contract document, and drawings as we know them now are either a thing of the past or more just for information purposes. But in my opinion, I think that's where we're headed. And again, I think that developing the intelligent model, making it the contract document, and training people on how to work with it is how we'll get there.